What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to do a 9-year review of my Tonno Pro Tri-Fold tonneau cover that has been on my F-150 since 2012, and it finally decided it had enough, even though I'm sitting here trying to save for a house with a shop for it next year. But hey, it doesn't know any better, and I just replaced it, but I figured let's give a pretty darn good time frame review and show you why I replaced it, what happened, and kind of my thoughts on this thing after the past 9 years. So let's get into it. I decided to purchase the Tonno Pro Tri-Fold back in 2012 because I was looking to replace the kind of clunky, older, century, hard fiberglass tonneau cover that the previous owner had put on. That's not something I like. I don't like them. I don't like the look of a painted cover on those vehicles. I like a black cover myself personally, and they're just very hard to work with, right? Like, it opens pretty high and you can't really drive like that. It's kind of, think of it almost like the lift gate on a rear vehicle. Like, you really don't want to be driving it with it like that. It's not designed to be that way. And they're just really heavy, and if they're not adjusted right, which unfortunately happened to my truck, it can dig into the side of the bed, and that was the last straw for me. I'm like, this thing's gotta go. I hated that thing. It was lockable, but I hated it. And you can't sell them. No one wants them unless they magically have the same color vehicle as you. I'm not a fan of them. So I ended up going with the Tonno Pro Tri-Fold. It's a soft cover, but it gives you the ability to easily open the rear portion. You can fold it up and it remains, you know, about 30 inches off the back of the cab at all times, because again, it's tri-fold, so everything is going to fold to the front portion of the bed. The other reason I went with it was my usage, right? Like, my truck is babied. People may laugh, that is going to be a street performance truck as time goes on. It's lowered, it's not a beater, it's not hauling gravel. I honestly, guys, I wouldn't haul gravel in the bed of a truck anyways, because now we're scratching the crap out of your truck. I'd just get a trailer, but that's just me. So the truck's not beaten. It's not something that I'm needing a heavy, crazy, lockable cover on there because my tailgate locks. And it's just something I'm just looking to keep things dry because I go camping. I have stuff in the bed, you know, if I'm doing a project or something. So it just kind of keeps honest people honest, because, you know, people see things in vehicles and they maybe get some urges to steal people's stuff, as we've seen with catalytic converters. But, you know, it does the job for what I was looking for, and that's why I went with the cover. Install is super easy. It's just got these little clips at the front that grab the top of the cover, the front portion of the cover, to the front of the bed rails, and then as you unfold the cover, the rear has its own little handle system that locks it to the bed rail. So it's pretty simple. It's a nice little unit for what it was, and doesn't involve any drilling or anything like that. It just clamps right on, as many of these covers do, and then, like I said, the rear is what holds the rear from flapping up. Now, I think someone like me is a pretty good gauge of how something holds up. I hold my things for a long time. I am not someone who goes through cars. I like to buy what I like and keep it and take good care of it. And that's unfortunately one of the things that you start to notice after a while, is you start to have to replace things because you forget that it's been literally almost a decade since I put that cover on. Now, overall, I think it held up pretty well. The vinyl material still looks really nice. It's, you know, really hot down here in North Carolina, but my truck is garaged a lot and has been garaged a lot for much of its life. So that is something to keep in mind here. It did not bake out in the sun day after day, year after year. It's garaged more than 50% of the time. I would say 70-something% of the time it's garaged. So just keep that in mind here. So ultimately what started to happen was the rear portion on the driver's side started to come apart. There's a plastic bar that runs all the way across, just kind of anchoring that vinyl material, and it looks like it got brittle. It started to peel back, and unfortunately what's going to happen is if I left it, the cover would just start working its way off, and I wasn't going to have that. It's not worth it. And it's just something that's a nuisance. I believe there's a lifetime warranty on a lot of Tonno Pro products, but guys, with everything going on in the supply chain, I just want a new cover. It's not worth it. It's been almost 10 years. They pretty much just expect you to buy a new one anyways, because most people don't keep their vehicles for that long. So it's just kind of looks like a natural failure point. I don't know if it's just a lesser quality, you know, plastic that they used or what, but it just started coming apart there, and at that point there's really not much you can do. It's just under so much tension trying to keep that top nice and taut that once it starts, it's kind of game over at that point. So guys, despite having the cover for just under a decade and being, I would say pretty happy with it, I did ultimately decide to go a different direction. I'll have a review coming out on it. It's the Tuxedo soft roll up. It's just a little different. I found that the reviews seemed solidly better for just a little bit more money, and I figured that would be a good way to go. So stay tuned for that review. But honestly, guys, this cover performed well for what it was. I just started seeing some more negative reviews on recent versions of the Tri-Fold. People were saying that they were happy, I think, with a version like I had, and they said, hey, I bought a new truck and it's just not fitting properly. And that was actually backed up on my oldest brother, who has a 2016 F-150 Super Crew, and he was saying that he actually had to have his replaced when he got it because he said it actually didn't fit the truck. That's exactly what I saw on the Auto Anything reviews, which is actually where I have bought both of these tonneau covers from. They have a lot of good selection, a lot of good reviews. Not sponsored by them by any means, but I've had a lot of good luck with them, and I really like how many people leave reviews on the products that they buy. So I guess the $1 million question is, would I review the Tonno Pro Tri-Fold cover? Well, I'll tell you this, I've had 4 family members now, including myself, that have owned a model of this Tri-Fold. My grandpa, my uncle, my brother, and myself. And overall, I'm pretty happy with it. I think for around $270, I think they're around this range now, it's still a pretty solid option. If you're looking for a Tri-Fold, you will realize as you research that they get very expensive very quick. So if you're going for a Tri-Fold, it's worth considering and looking. Just pay attention to the reviews because, like I said, it seems like there's been maybe a quality change. It could just be on certain models, but I know in my brother's case a few years ago, they made it right. They sent him a new one and he hasn't had any issues. So it very well could be isolated incidents, which often, guys, happens with a lot of mass-produced materials anyways. I just felt overall for me and the plans that I have, that truck bed is actually hopefully going to become a trailer in the next few years, and so that's why I was kind of annoyed that I had to go through and do this, because I do plan on putting a step side bed, a flare side on that truck in the coming couple years. And so I figured if I'm going to be doing that, then that roll-up one would be better, because I want to use that as a trailer, and so I don't want to have 30 inches of cover overhanging the bed. That's one of the downfalls there, and that's something to keep in mind. It is going to overhang into the bed about 30 inches because each panel, each foldable, tri piece of that, it's made up of 3, foldable areas. That's going to be a portion that has to stay at the front of the bed. So you do lose the ability to have an entire open bed, which is again why I ended up going with a roll-up cover. And I also thought that it's going to have less moving parts. So that's something that also steered me in that direction. And I have family that does have roll-up covers and has had good luck with them. So guys, it's all personal preference. I just figured this might be kind of cool to show a long-term update, because most people don't keep their trucks for that long, and I figure I've had a pretty good amount of use. I use the thing all the time, and overall it's a pretty good product, but ultimately I did decide to go in a different direction. So if you guys have any questions whatsoever, don't hesitate to let me know down below. I always appreciate hearing people's feedback. People seem to enjoy my reviews, so it kind of seems like something worth sharing with you guys. So any questions, let me know, guys, but that's gonna do it, and we'll talk to you in the next one. Take care.